feeling so worn. Contradicted, living so torn. Inside of me like a quiet storm. Ever since the day I was born, so tired, feeling so worn. Contradicted, living so torn. Inside of me like a quiet storm. And a whole life locked up.
How's it going, YouTube? Today I'm going to talk to you about a few things. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the big news that's going on today. Like a couple of days ago, there was the president's speech or whatever about border security. And it's fairly easy. You know, the Democrats came on after the speech and tried to claim a bunch of stuff that Trump is doing is what they're doing is holding the government hostage. They're basically, instead of Trump throwing a tantrum, it was the Democrats, Schumer and Nancy, who threw the hissy fit and acted like spoiled little brats, like little kids. It's literally ridiculous. You know, Trump tried to get, you know, he wants the media inside their meetings so people can see how they actually act, but they don't want the media in there to know the truth of the situation. So anyone who's whining about the government shutdown, it's not Trump who's doing it, it's the Democrats. And they've literally, you know, said that they wanted border security. Both of them have. You know, several times throughout the past. And now that Trump is trying to push for it, they're going back on the word and they're not doing what the people or Americans want. They think they work for themselves or the government, when Trump has pretty much told them, you work for the American people, not yourselves. So give the American people what they want. And the masks, it is a known fact, and the masks, sorry, I can't talk. It is a known fact that the majority of Americans want border security and the wall. So they need to get over it, grow the fuck up, and act like adults, and give us what we want, and move past the government shutdown so people can get paid again. It's the Democrats, people, not Trump. Moving on past that, let's move on to our B-rated movie review. This time around, I'm going to talk about someone who was originally not well known back in the early 80s. He really didn't get... He's now an A-list celebrity, a superstar. He's really well known, and so is most of his movies. The person I want to talk about is Arnold Schwarzenegger in one of his movies. Now, every A-list celebrity at one point in time, your action stars, have done a few B-rated movies back in the day, before they became popular. You know, Steven Seagal, Bruce Willis, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone, and of course Arnold. They've all done it. Now Arnold, when he first was starting out, he did this movie called Hercules in New York, which was absolutely terrible. Pretty much his first movie. It was just so bad. And he did another one called The Villain, which was kind of like a slapstick comedy on like cartoon westerns, and it was, oh my gosh, that movie was so bad too. Eventually he came around and did Conan the Barbarian, which literally blew up his career. That's what got him going. At this time, now he's known, but he's not a superstar yet. He's not like real popular yet. So he does a couple of B-rated action flicks, which, you know, like I said, they've all done it. All your action stars had eventually, back then, had you know, done some B-rated action flicks. And in the early '80s, you know, the studios or whatever, the Hollywood, was just bombarding people with a bunch of your B-rated action flicks. It was flooded. Hollywood was flooded with them. And surprisingly, a lot of them did fairly well. But there's a particular movie that a lot of people probably don't know about that Arnold did back in the day, and I'll probably talk about a couple more of his before he became super popular, and maybe some other A-list celebrities. I usually don't do A-list celebrities because you know they're superstars. Most of their films are well known, and they're not really B-rated anymore. But you know, these were B-rated. They weren't super popular, and a lot of people don't know about them. And the first one I'm going to talk about is called Raw Deal. Arnold did a movie back in the early '80s called Raw Deal. It was a action movie that was directed by John Irvin, who was a British director, who was pretty popular at the time. He had quite a few movies under his belt. The movie budget was about $8 million, and it made actually a little over $16 million. So it didn't do too bad. They made their money back plus more, basically doubled it. Anyways, the movie basically starts off with Arnold was a former FBI agent. He got in a big mess when at the FBI when he was undercover on a certain case, and some of the FBI agents were corrupt that on the case he was working on. Not him, but a couple of the others. But the evidence all looked like it, you know, that he was also in on it. So he had a choice either to face the consequences or get out, like resign from the FBI. And he chose to resign from the FBI. There was one particular FBI agent who was gunning for him, who was kind of like Internal Affairs or the DA. He's like this attorney for the FBI or whatever, and he was going to hang him if he didn't leave, so he left. So at the beginning of the movie, you realize he's now this small-time sheriff, and his wife at the beginning is throwing a fucking fit because she ain't got, you know, a ton of money to go blow. She's not living in a city. She can't find anything to do. You know, she can't throw elaborate parties anymore, and she can't go shopping with her, you know, friends. You know, no money. You know, so she's having a fit about that. Because she's used to a particular lifestyle, and she doesn't have it anymore. You know, typical gold digging wife scenario crap. Fucking woman. Anyways, he wasn't gonna listen to it. He left, and when he goes to work, he runs across his old buddy from the FBI, which has been like 5 or 6 years later, supposedly. He shows up. He's like the one who taught him or some crap like that. And he asked him if he'll go undercover for him because this mob boss like killed his son, and he wants revenge. He wants to bring down not only the organization, but he wants him killed or whatever. And he tells Arnold that it's a chance for him to get back. He could pull some strings, get a chance to bring him back into the FBI, which is what Arnold wants. So Arnold agrees to help him out. He goes undercover, and once he gets into the city, he knows that this mob boss has like a rival, so he goes and terrorizes his rival for a little bit, destroys this building up front his rival has, and steals his girlfriend's jewelry and whatnot. He does a bunch of crazy things, and then he gets this meeting at like this casino or whatever, and talks to the mob boss's like second in command, and like their security guy or top wise guy or whatever. Anyway, goes in there and tells him that he's the one who's been causing problems for his boss's rival, and that he wants in the family. And the guy says, I'll think about it. The other guy, the security guard guy or whatever, he doesn't believe him. He thinks he's full of crap. He don't trust him. He don't like him. So he starts doing some digging on him, and he has this woman who he wants, but she doesn't want anything to do with him. But he has something over her head, so he tells her to go spy on Arnie, and Arnie knows about it, lets her do it, and she doesn't find anything on him. At this point in time, he meets this FBI agent who's on the case and watching these people. Explains to him that he's basically nobody, and he says, well, I'll keep an eye on you too, and he says, go ahead. Anyways, eventually it goes to this, I guess you call it, it's like some construction site or whatever, and it's for the mob boss, and he hits it, kills everybody, takes the money or whatever. So the mob boss thinks that his rival and him are like, now it's like war, they're going to go after each other. He thinks he's the one that's doing it. His rival tries to kill him in the process, so that just basically proves his theory or whatever. So they're basically going to go to war. So that's why when the next time he goes sees the second in command or whatever, the mob boss wants to meet him, and the mob boss goes ahead and hires him. The security guy's not happy about that. He takes him on a couple assignments, and eventually he takes him on this assignment where Arnie finds out there's a leak in the FBI. They don't know who it is. But this mission comes up, and the security guy wants him to go kill an FBI guy. And he's thinking it may be the leak or whatever. And they go out there to the cemetery. And come to find out it's his buddy that asked him to go undercover. And there's a big shootout. He has to help shoot the guys, the mob boss guys. His buddy's still alive though. He's just been shot a few times. He tells them get out of there before they find him. That he's not the leak. He needs to find out who it is, and he leaves. He tells the woman to meet him at an airport. He's going after the mob boss himself, the big guy himself. So he shows up at the building. It basically shoots up the whole place and kills everybody in it. I mean, you know, one guy gets like, I don't know, 500 mob guys, you know, no big deal, you know. But he goes in there and kills them all. He finds out the leak is the, you know, the internals affair guy or whatever that was going to hang him from the beginning 5 years earlier. He ends up getting killed too. And he leaves, gives the woman some money, puts her in her plane, tells her to get the hell out of there, that he's staying behind. And she takes off because she really didn't have anything to do with it. He was trying to help her out. And then the FBI guy who was on the case, had been watching the whole time, you know, he saw the bloody mess at the mob boss's building or whatever, and he saw the guy that was Eternal's Affairs and knew who the leak was. But he figured that you know, he was in on it, so he shows up at the airport. And he says, you know what, I figured you were one of us, blah, 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 you know, and yada, yada, yada. He says, you know, tells him, you know, we'll be waiting for you to sign back up to the FBI and yada, 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 because he knows he's coming back and he's going to help him get back in. You know, basically he goes and sees his old buddy and, you know, has a little talk with him, and you know, he's going to join the FBI again, obviously, and that's the end of the movie. As far as action flicks go, it was fairly decent. It wasn't a bad movie. It was B-rated though, you know, you had a little bit of bad acting in it and stuff. And you might recognize some of the actors, you know, a lot of them were, some of them were just starting off in their career, some of them had been around for a little while, and you know, there's a bunch of noticeable faces. You know, you see certain actors or actresses, you know, you recognize, but you know, you don't know their names or anything like that. That's basically what I'm talking about. You might notice some of them, but you don't really know all their names. Like I said, it's a fairly decent action flick. It wasn't bad, you know, and you're going to find a lot of these back in the 80s, these B-rated action flicks. Arnold was just getting started with his movie career, so this isn't a real known one of his. But if you want a decent action flick to watch, something to watch, B-rated as it is, you know, I suggest you watch it. It's called Raw Deal. It's a fairly decent movie. Anyways, that's basically all I have time for. And I told you you'd be told the truth. You've just been told.